Hey there guys, how are you? Welcome back to another awesome video. It's time for another movie review. And today's movie review was requested to me by my good old pal and viewer Sky Guy, which shout out to Sky Guy real quick. I gotta tell you dude, your video that you did for WandaVision, it got blocked. It got copyrighted by Disney. So just be aware of that, okay? If you're watching this. But anyways, this was requested to me by my good friend Sky Guy, my good viewer, fellow YouTuber. Go check him out. He's a small creator, but go check him out. And today's movie review is going to be of Ratatouille. So Ratatouille is about a rat named Remy who kind of feels like he can do bigger things in the world than just be a rat. So this movie was directed by Brad Bird, who he's very familiar in the animation industry and especially the Pixar industry when he's done movies like The Incredibles, which he's most infamously known for, and he's most infamously known for that and The Iron Giant. Now, before we get into my thoughts on what I thought about Ratatouille, I have a little story time for you guys, and it does pertain to the movie. And anytime I do a story time, it will in a movie review, it will pertain to said movie. But anyways, so for a while, I found Ratatouille. I just found it fine. I always just was like, okay, this is a fine movie. It's alright. It's okay. Like, nothing too crazy up in my alley or up my book or up my alley, really. And then I noticed this as I got older, which is, I've noticed, I think, there was one time in particular where it was, I want to say my junior year in high school, and we were on winter break. It was our last day of school or something, and I remember we were at a vote, we were about to watch a movie, and we were in a vote of either watching Inside Out or Ratatouille. And I'm sitting there going, let's watch Inside Out. Like, I didn't scream it out loud, but I thought, hey, Inside Out, anybody? And everyone else, mostly half the other class or students or whatever, picked Ratatouille over Inside Out. And I thought to myself, I was like, really? I was like, not that I don't hate it. I didn't hate Ratatouille. It's just, I was like, really? Like, Ratatouille over Inside Out? Like, what am I missing here? And not only that, but I've noticed a lot of other people that I've either talked to or I've seen videos on that whenever they talk about Ratatouille, it's like, it's so, like, masterful. And I'm like, really? I'm like, the one where a rat learns how to cook, kind of, and teaches this human how to cook? I mean, it's creative, it's funny, but I never saw it as masterful for quite a while, for like years, until recently rewatching this movie, and I'm starting to actually see where that masterfulness actually comes from. So, let's first get into like the ensemble, because the ensemble is good, but I think the standout and the main focus of this movie is, of course, you have Remy, Patton Oswalt, you have, I want to say that the other main focus is Brad Garrett, who I think they're great together with their duo and their sort of coming to realization of identity, which I think is interesting, because here's Remy going, he doesn't want to be just a rat. That's all he's been known for, just this sort of like stereotype of that rats have to be very like mischievous and very like eating garbage and everything. And feels passionate, he feels creative, and cooking is his passion. And like I said, Brad Garrett, being the, I guess, figment of his imagination, kind of does coincide with his sort of who are you kind of idealization, and that change is nature, and people can say nature can't be changed, but that is what change is nature is changing. It's always changing, evolving, adapting, and thriving. And I think that was very mature, looking back on that scene and looking back on that concept and that idea a little bit. And I also really like, you can't go wrong with when Remy's doing the whole puppeteering with Linguini. I thought that gives a good laugh here and there, and especially how creative both the duo of Linguini and Remy have to like basically hide the identity of that as a rat, like hiding in my hair pretty much, and kind of like pulling me along like strings, like no strings on me sort of thing. So that's always creative, and obviously the animation is very stellar. It's Pixar, it's you can't go wrong with Pixar. There has not been a horribly bad animated Pixar movie, and it just keeps getting better with their animation. From when they first started animation to now, it still looks beautiful. Like, you can watch any of these Pixar movies at any time and still think, God, those are a great animation right there. Now, I want to get back to, like, my whole story and my point I was trying to make with the whole, like, what is so masterful about Ratatouille that I never saw years ago that I see now, or at least now that I'm getting older. And I think that has to do with two things. One small minor role, which is Anton Ego. He's like this very critic, obviously. He's known for reviewing and doing like old types of reviews, like typing it up, putting in the news articles and newspapers on like what he thinks about said restaurant and said food. And that sort of thing about being a critic. And I don't know if I'm considered or classified a critic per se, but I'm a reviewer, and I like to express my opinion on things. So I definitely could relate to many aspects that the character points out whenever he says it's kind of hard to be a critic or be a reviewer when you start seeing the flaws and everything, but when you also see the perfectionists in things. That is very true. That is very true. And not just for reviewers or even critics alone. Anyone can relate to that idea about an opinion and that how there's that factor of nostalgia and there's that factor of like, okay, there's this flaw here, there's this cliche, there's this trope that they're doing, and how do you differentiate from different like areas of like criticism, and how do you take criticism, and also how do you accept criticism, and then the different aspects of negative criticism and positive criticism, I think is like very mature for Pixar and for this movie. Looking back on it, I have said rewatched it, and not only that, but also the passion. Like having that thrive, that drive of you want to do something creative, you want to do something bigger in the world, and do something inspirational, do something that you feel you're passionate about. And it doesn't have to be and it doesn't have to pertain to cooking. Like if you want to be a cook, this is definitely the movie for you that makes you want to be a cook, be a chef, and want to learn these things. But it doesn't have to pertain to just chefs. You can literally take this in any direction. You could go into being, talks about a writer, a songwriter, a singer, a dancer, whatever occupation you want to be out there, a lawyer, a dentist, a doctor, a filmmaker. Any direction you can take this into. Graphic designer, video game designer, anything, animator. You can take any of those and relate to that feeling of passion, that creativity, and just wanting to do something in the world, whether it's going to be impactful or inspirational or just something you feel in your heart is true to you and what you want to do in your life. That, I think, I start to see where that is why I think this movie is definitely a fantastic movie looking back on it now. And seeing that and realizing that, and especially how much more older I am, seeing and noticing those two things. Because to me, when I was like younger, when I first saw Ratatouille, I never would have been like, really? It was like, oh, I would have been like, okay, the critic dude's kind of okay. And actually, on a funny part, I think it's hilarious that he has very minor, like, very subtle troll moments, which I laughed my ass off about. I thought that was great, the way he trolled. And he does it so, like, sophisticated, but the more you think about it, if you're a reviewer and you're a person that has seen or dealt with YouTube before, or just had an opinion, you will notice him being a troll. It's fantastic, to be honest. But getting back kind of on track, I would have not noticed that when I was younger, the sort of criticism and that him as a character, and even the whole maturity of it a little bit, is very surprising to me still. Although this is very well animated and definitely an amazing job, I think this is definitely Brad Bird's finest for sure. I will kind of point out, yeah, there are kind of a small bit of tropes here and there, fortunately and unfortunately, so they do work well at times. So, but at the same time, it's kind of like, like they kind of are hit and miss. They're not too keen, but they're at the same time, they're not too bad. And if you want to go for, say, if there is a villain per se in this film. I guess that Chef Skinner guy, he's not really that threatening of an antagonist. I mean, he is human, so he's bigger in scale compared to Remy, but he doesn't feel like a big threat to really worry about. He just feels like a very just snarky, just whatever chef, pretty much. And then Ego feels more like an antagonist because of the fact that he's a critic, and he could easily just kind of give the restaurant, Chef Gusteau's, a very purposely bad review if he wanted to. And I mean, that's not antagonizing, that's not an antagonist, that's just how critics can be. They can easily just kind of go, oh, I'm gonna eat, if this is a horrible meal, I'm gonna give this 0 stars. Like, you can easily do that as a critic. So it's not an antagonist, it's just his job, and that's kind of and that plays more into him being a critic, is that the fact of that taking this as a job, and taking this as trying to be turn off your brain time of moments, but at the same time you can't, because you're at work. You can't go it's hard to be a critic for him, and it's hard for many other critics to kind of do their jobs. So like I said, I don't think that's very antagonizing. That's just him doing his job. But overall, I'm gonna give Ratatouille, I'm gonna give it an A-. So Ratatouille, have you guys seen it? What did you think of it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please smash the like button. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I do awesome videos every day, every week. And make sure you ring that bell to be notified. I do videos every day, every week. Share the video with family and friends, all the good stuff and more. And leave some suggestions, any requests in the comment section. I'll look into them as soon as possible. You name them, I'll look into them. So don't worry. And thank you again to Sky Guy. And before I go, I also want to give you something, my friend. Before any of you guys go, and before he goes, if you're watching this, Sky Guy, I got something for you. I got quite a movie for you. You should definitely check out, and maybe possibly I think you should definitely review this. You're gonna give me a request, I'm gonna give you a request back, like a tit for tat here. So I think you should watch Batman Under the Red Hood. So make sure you check that out, and make sure you watch that, and I'd like to see your thoughts on it. Even if you're just gonna go, it's marvelous. Even if you're just gonna praise the movie, I'll still go, alright, I want to see what your thoughts are. But Batman Under the Red Hood for you, my friend. But look out for more reviews, look out for all good stuff and everything. I might be possibly doing a comic review sometime soon, and I will possibly also be getting back into live streams again, especially the live Q&As particularly, so I can update you guys on some things. And I have a few ideas I want to share with you all live, so that way you can kind of get an idea of things, and also to see what's coming maybe the next week or next 2 weeks, give or take. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.